Welcome back to the deep dive. We take your sources, find the real gems inside.
That's the plan.
And today, well, we're getting into an idea it's really out there. It shakes up, everything we think we know about reality.
It definitely does.
Our source, no particles, no division, non-numbers.txt, it puts forward this really astonishing concept. What if? What if the universe isn't particles or fields? What if there's no actual division in it?
Just
gone.
Yeah. So our mission today is to sort of unpack that, especially this claim that things like math, numbers, even complex stuff like tensors, algebra.
The tools we use.
Exactly, that they might just be human inventions. The source literally says nothing mathematical in nature.
Which is a huge statement for physics, for everything, really.
Right. And it goes further. Infinity does not exist. And these things are, quote, fabrications of the mind, which is itself a fabrication.
Wow. Okay, so the mind, too. The mind, too.
Mm.
And that leads us to the core idea. How does division, how does separate things seem to appear? The source says it seems to emerge with consciousness from just changing space.
It's a viewpoint that really asks you to step outside almost everything we take for granted, isn't it?
Completely.
The idea that, a proton, this chair, that planet, they aren't fundamentally distinct things.
Right. Just interpretations we put on reality.
And the source claims that fundamental reality is, just changing space. Continuous. Unbroken.
And that's where it really messes with standard physics, standard understanding. Like you said, there are no particles, no fields, no division, just changing space.
Yeah.
That's not just like philosophical musing.
No, it hits right at the core.
Think about quantum field theory. Our whole picture is built on quantized bits, particles, fields of energy.
The fundamental building blocks we assume are there.
And this source is saying, nope. Convenient fictions, maybe. What we're really seeing is just space itself constantly changing, but unbroken.
And it describes this change in a fascinating way as locally deformed changing space.
Okay, what did that imply?
Well, it suggests that what we perceive as objects, or maybe events, are just specific shapes or stable patterns within this continuous flow.
Ah, I see.
So a particle or a field isn't a separate thing. It's more like a persistent ripple, maybe, a consistent pattern in this underlying dynamic space.
Like a wave in the ocean analogy.
Exactly like that. The wave isn't separate from the water. It's just the water doing something specific in a specific place.
Okay, so if a particle is just a pattern, then the really radical part is saying the division itself isn't real.
Right. The line we draw between particle and not particle or empty space.
That line only seems to emerge with consciousness. Which, okay, that brings us to the math point again.
Yeah, that mathematics itself might not be inherent.
The source argues nothing mathematical in nature. Our numbers, geometry, even, tensors for general relativity.
You're just basic algebra.
All of it. Just things we made up. Human fabrications.
And that's where it really strips away our assumptions, We tend to think math is the language.
The language of the universe, yeah.
And that unlocks the intrinsic order. But this view says, well, maybe our equations are just incredibly good models.
Models we invented to describe something that's actually way more fluid, less structured.
Precisely. It's like using a meter stick to measure a cloud.
Okay.
You get measurements, they might be useful, but you wouldn't say the cloud is fundamentally made of straight lines and right angles just because you used a ruler.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And the source pushes this further by saying infinity does not exist.
Right. Which is foundational for so much math.
Calculus, cosmology. If infinity is just a concept, a fabrication, what does that mean for our theories that depend on it? Infinite series, boundless space.
It suggests maybe our theoretical models have built-in limitations because they rely on concepts that don't actually map to reality.
They hit a wall because reality itself isn't infinite.
Perhaps. It challenges the very conceptual tools we've constructed.
So connecting the dots, our ways of measuring, dividing, calculating reality. They work for us, obviously. We build technology.
They're demonstrably useful, yeah.
But they might fundamentally miss the real essence of what's going on if it's just this undivided flux.
That seems to be the core argument. The claim infinity does not exist just reinforces that our mathematical frameworks, while powerful, might be purely human constructs without a direct counterpart in nature.
Okay, but let's circle back to maybe the most unsettling claim. The mind, which is itself a fabrication.
Yeah, that one definitely gives you pause.
Because if our consciousness, the thing doing the perceiving and the fabricating,
Yeah.
if that's also a construct.
What can we actually know? Where's the foundation?
Exactly. Does the source get into that sort of epistemological problem?
It does, maybe implicitly. The idea seems to be that this fabricated mind is the very source of the apparent division.
Ah, okay. So the mind creates the divisions. It doesn't just perceive divisions that are already there.
That seems to be it. From that baseline just changing space, that continuous undivided reality, our consciousness, because it's a fabrication, imposes boundaries. It carves out the objects, the separations we experience.
So it's not that reality has divisions.
It's that our minds project a vision onto it.
Wow. So if my perception is actively making the divisions I see, what about objective reality? Can we ever grasp it if it's fundamentally undivided?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Are we just stuck inside our own fabricated simulation, in a way? If I see a tree and you see a tree, are we applying a similar fabrication to the same underlying changing space?
That's the profound implication, yes. It suggests that whatever objective reality is, in its undivided state, it might be completely unlike our experience of reality.
Because our experience is filtered through consciousness, through math, through these fabricated tools.
Creating this universe of particles and divisions and numbers that, according to the source, aren't really there in the fabric of nature itself.
So the tree is a consistent pattern.
A persistent deformation in the changing space, perhaps?
But it's treeness, it's separateness.
Yeah.
That's us. That's the fabrication.
That's the interpretation imposed by the fabricated mind.
It really dismantles so much, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No fundamental particles, no fields.
No inherent mathematical laws.
Not even an objective observer in the traditional sense, if the observer's mind is part of the fabrication.
It just leaves space changing, and us sort of making sense of it with tools that aren't necessarily part of it.
It makes you wonder,
Mm-hmm.
could two minds, fabricated differently, perceive wildly different realities from the exact same underlying changing space?
That's the kind of thinking this source seems to provoke. If our understanding tools aren't intrinsic, then our science are models. They're incredibly useful descriptions.
But maybe not the ultimate truth about reality itself.
Possibly not if reality is fundamentally undivided.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we've really explored some truly mind-bending ideas from this source, starting with that core claim. Reality is just changing space. No particles, no fields, no built-in divisions.
And then the idea that math numbers, tensors, algebra, all of it isn't part of nature, but something we invented.
Including the concept of infinity. Infinity does not exist.
Which underpins so much of our thinking.
And crucially, we talked about the idea that the mind itself, the thing doing all this thinking, is also presented as a fabrication.
Mm-hmm. Which ties into how division only seems to emerge with consciousness from that underlying continuous changing space.
Right. So the final thought for you, the listener, to maybe grapple with is this. If the structures we rely on, particles, fields, math, are just human fabrications.
And reality itself is this undivided changing space.
Where division only appears with our fabricated consciousness.
Yeah.
But what does that really imply about our perception, about our place in the cosmos, and maybe most importantly, about the limits of our ability to ever truly know objective reality?
A lot to think about there.